Higgins and Smith blast Gloucestershire past 300 on day 1. Gloucestershire come into this tie on a high, coming out victorious over Leicestershire in one of the most exciting matches of the season. The victory had elevated them to 7th, and with the same result again, they could move to 2nd. Visitors Worcestershire would be looking to bounce back from a defeat in Durham, where the top order failed to fire. An uncontested toss saw Worcestershire electing to field first, and their decision was immediately rewarded as opener Hammond edged the 3rd ball of the morning behind off Leach and was sent walking for a duck. That early wobble didn't affect new bat Roderick or Dent, however, and the pair started to build a score with 4s coming regularly. And Roderick moved the partnership past 50 with a 4-off Finch. Loose Barnard balls were dealt the same fate, and both bats looked settled into a Pennington ball zipped off the surface and took a thick edge to Ferguson at backward point. Roderick out for 40. Dent had been the more cautious of the pair, and with that caution he and Bracey made it to lunch, the score 82 for 2. Bracey started the afternoon session with a 4, but it'd be his last major contribution as he was caught by Vessels off the bowling of Leach the following over. Dent, meanwhile, was approaching his 50, which he reached with a single off Joe Leach, the knock coming in 114 balls. His half-century reached, he teed off in the following over with 2 4s. But just a few balls later, his progress came to a crashing halt, feathering a Leach ball behind to Cox and departing for 58. Higgins came in and got off the mark with a 4, before he really teed off with 2 4s and a Finch over. And he doubled down in the next with 4 boundaries off Barnard. After just 31 balls, he was on the cusp of a rapid half-century, which he got the next over with a safe single, the miraculous half-ton coming in 32 balls, a blinding performance and his 5th first-class 50. Smith started to copy his batting partner's pace with 3 4s in the space of 5 balls. He too was making his way to 50, and after some more slightly sedate batting, he reached the total as tea was called. Despite losing 2 wickets, it was very much Gloucestershire's session as they roared past 250 and picked up 2 batting points. Higgins would have wanted to start the evening as he'd ended the afternoon, but he was able to make just 1 more run after the break before being caught behind off D'Oliveira, out for 76. Taylor managed just a boundary before D'Oliveira had him too, gone for just 10. And these 2 wickets had taken away the momentum from Gloucestershire's batsmen, and the game stifled with boundaries coming few and far between. Smith and Howell steadied the ship and more slowly accumulated runs, moving the score past 300. Howell looked to accelerate with 2 consecutive 4s off Parnell, but the moment went to his head, and the next ball he sliced one to Barnard in the field, out for a quick-fire 36. Then the umpires called the players in for bad light, and they never came back out. Overall, an even day with Gloucestershire managing several spells of powerful batting, but Worcestershire still picked up 7 wickets. Both sides will be looking for a quick start to steal momentum on day 2. Whiteley rescues Worcestershire after top order wobble. It was an even contest on the first day of play in Cheltenham, where some powerful batting performances from Ryan Higgins and Tom Smith pushed the hosts past 339. But visitors Worcestershire managed to take 7 wickets and would be confident of taking more early ones on day 2 to get bat in hand quickly. It was a slow start for the hosts, and this pressure immediately told, with a Leach ball nipping away from Payne and sending the off-stump cartwheeling, out for 8. And it wasn't long before the last 2 Gloucestershire wickets tumbled too. Firstly, Bamber caught behind again off Leach, this wicket confirming his 5-fer. Before the innings was wrapped up, Smith clubbing one directly into the grateful hands of Barnard. So a devastating spell by Leach in the morning took him to a 6-wicket haul and halted Gloucestershire's progress at 354. It was a confident start to Worcestershire's innings, with openers Vessels and Mitchell finding boundaries. but Vessel's day was done in just the 5th over, edging Bamber to the slips and walking for 12. And new bat Ferguson only lasted 8 balls before he too edged to the slips and headed back to the pavilion with just 1 to his name. Opener Mitchell and new bat Barnard made their way safely to the lunch interval, Worcestershire 40 for 2 through 15 overs, and disappointed to not have taken their bowlers' momentum into their batting performance. Worcestershire started the afternoon session in disastrous fashion, Barnard removed by Higgins for 6 with just the 2nd ball of the session. And Higgins had another in his next over, opener Mitchell departing, having nicked behind to Cox. Cox had contributed 13 in 41 balls when he departed off the bowling of Payne, Worcestershire 68 for 5. Whiteley gave something for the away fans to shout about with a wristy 6 off Bamber, and the pair were slowly clawing the visitors to a decent score. Gloucestershire thought they had a breakthrough, but a Whiteley edge evaded both slip fielders and ran away over the rope. The visitors would soon rue that mischance even more as, with a pair of 4s and a maximum, Whiteley moved past 50, an impressive score coming off 103 balls, and more importantly, at a vital time for Worcestershire. D'Oliveira too was settled and was starting to pick up boundaries of his own, and the pair made it safely to tee on 136 for 5. The pair got off to a comfortable start in the evening session. This really had been a middle order revival for Worcestershire, as a D'Oliveira 4 saw the pair move past 100 partnership, and D'Oliveira saw himself to a personal milestone soon after, reaching 50 with a 4 off Bamber. Whiteley picked up the pace in pursuit of his 100 with a massive 6 off the spin of Smith, but he wouldn't reach his ton, falling 12 short after feathering one behind. Parnell and D'Oliveira batted their way to the close. Another even contest, with Worcestershire limiting Gloucestershire's tail from wagging in the morning, but suffering a top-order collapse of their own. It's only thanks to the excellent pair of Whiteley and D'Oliveira that the game is still in their hands, going into day 3.
Gloucestershire build lead to set up intriguing final day at Cheltenham. Half-centuries from Ross Whiteley and Brett D'Oliveira helped Worcestershire recover from a precarious position at 68 for 5 after a top-order collapse on day 2 at Cheltenham College. The pair added 146 before Whiteley was dismissed late in the day to leave Worcestershire 232 for 6 and still 122 behind Gloucestershire. D'Oliveira and Parnell resumed on day 3 for Worcestershire, but Parnell soon had to go when he feathered Ethan Bamber behind to Bracey for 7. New batsman Leach picked up the first boundary of the day, but Bamber struck again, finding a bit of lift to have D'Oliveira caught in the slips by Hammond, and Payne continued a brilliant start to the morning for the hosts when he pinned Pennington in front in the next over to leave Worcestershire 9 down. Leach responded by finding the fence twice in the following over to take his side past 250. And the boundaries began to come regularly for the Worcestershire skipper as he frustrated the Gloucestershire attack in partnership with last man Adam Finch. The lunch interval was delayed as the host tried to claim the final wicket, but Leach and Finch had taken their side to the brink of 300 before Leach chopped on for 38 to leave Worcestershire all out at lunch for 293, giving Gloucestershire a lead of 61 on first innings. Joe Leach couldn't be kept out of the game though, as he struck with the third ball of the innings to have Dent caught at slip. Roderick and Hammond hit back with a boundary apiece, but the run rate had slowed to a crawl before Parnell nipped one back to bowl Roderick. Hammond and new batsman James Bracey tried to get things moving by finding the rope, but Worcestershire struck again when Barnard pinned Hammond in front. Bracey responded by sending Parnell to the fence in consecutive overs, but the South African got his man with the very next ball when he found the top of up stump to bowl him. Higgins and Smith dug in to take their side past 50 and they began to build a partnership, with Higgins sending Finch to the fence from consecutive deliveries. And the all-rounder began to put his foot down, following up another boundary off Finch with 2 more from consecutive D'Oliveira deliveries in the next over. Smith got in on the act with 4 of his own off D'Oliveira, but 2 balls later Higgins was gone when he threw the kitchen sink at a wide one from Pennington, but only succeeded in edging through to Vessels at slip. Tea arrived soon after with Gloucestershire 105 for 5 and leading by 166. Smith and Taylor dug in after tea, with only 13 runs coming from the first 10 overs of the evening session. But Taylor looked to up the rate as he picked up boundaries off both Barnard and Parnell. And Smith had to go when Parnell angled one into him and he fenced to Vessels. Taylor moved the lead to 200 before he edged Barnard behind to Cox, standing up to the stumps. And 3 overs later, with the score the same, Howe looked to put away a rankful toss from D'Oliveira, but only succeeded in picking out Parnell at mid-on. Bamber edged one down to third man in the final over of the day to leave Gloucestershire 149 for 8 with a lead of 210, which they'll hope to build as much as possible on the final morning before Worcestershire begin their chase.
Fantastic finale falls hosts' way in Cheltenham. Gloucestershire had extended their first innings lead to 210 by the close of play on day 3, but only have 2 wickets remaining to make use of that at the start of the final day's play. Worcestershire would be hoping to get bat in hand as swiftly as possible to attack the hosts' lead and claw their way to victory. It was a tense start to proceedings, only 2 paying fours coming in the opening 10 overs. And within 2 further overs, Gloucestershire's second innings was over, firstly Payne gone for 22, before Taylor went for 1, nicking behind off Finch. That was the end of Gloucestershire's batting efforts for the game, all out for 184 and setting Worcestershire a target of 245 for victory, with 2.5 sessions left to achieve it. That Worcestershire effort would get off to the worst start possible, with opener Mitchell out for a diamond duck. It was hard work initially, but Vessels settled in and began making big shots, including a maximum off Payne, and the pair seemed set, making runs at a good clip. Before Vessels, in the over immediately before lunch, feathered one behind to Bracey off Smith, out for 42. So lunch was called early, Worcestershire taking a big bite out of the Gloucestershire total, taking it below 200 remaining, but losing 2 wickets in the process. With 2 sessions remaining, the game was finally in the balance. The visitors would seek a steady start to the afternoon, but 2 quickfire wickets rocked their ambition. Firstly, Barnard out for 10 off the bowling of Higgins. And Higgins had another a few overs later, this time Whiteley out for a 16-ball duck. But the new pair Ferguson and Cox weathered the storm and soon began to accumulate regular runs. Ferguson was the more aggressive of the pair, picking up consistent boundaries. But it was smart batting, running effectively between the wickets. And with a crafty double, Ferguson reached his 50, an excellent knock coming off 129 balls. With that milestone reached, tea was called, Worcestershire 146 for 4 and needing less than 100 runs for victory, with 1 intriguing session remaining. The pair took their second session momentum into the start of the third, with some confident batting. But just as Cox was approaching his 50, he was gone, scooping one to Higgins and giving Bamber his first wicket of the day. Worcestershire were 5 down with 64 required for victory. And a couple of overs later, other set bat Ferguson was gone too, this time off Howe, out for 63. And when D'Oliveira went for only 11, we were in store for a riveting finale, with 48 runs required, but with only 3 lower-end batsmen remaining. But Leach and Parnell dug in, finding boundaries almost immediately after coming in. The pair seemed to have the game under control when Ryan Higgins once again turned the game on its head. 2 wickets in 1 over. Firstly, Parnell out for a quick-fire 15. Then 2 balls later, Pennington gone for a duck. And amazingly, Gloucestershire did it. They'd been just 20 runs from defeat, needing 3 wickets, and they got all 3 with 14 to spare. Finch the man to depart without scoring. Another fantastic finale in Cheltenham. Victory for the host would see them take 23 points, whilst the visitors would come away with just 5.